We are so back. Hello, hi, how are you doing? I hope you are doing okay. I'm a little anxious because tomorrow is the start of the academic year for me, but otherwise I'm doing pretty good, pretty okay considering stuff and things that have been happening around where I've been living. And that's all I'm gonna say right now, because we're here to talk about perfume. And today is one perfume oil by Sultan Pasha, increasingly becoming one of my favorite perfumers of all time, really. He just makes like really incredible, classical feeling, Western perfumes. He also does a lot of Eastern, like Arabic, Indian stuff. Those are less my thing, but I do really appreciate them nonetheless, and I do respect the way he does his creations. From the title of the video, you can surmise that I'm going to be talking about this little feller right here. Its name is Vetiver Blanc, as you can see, white vetiver, obviously, not obviously, that is what it means in French. And while it certainly does have vetiver in it, the dominating note in Vetiver Blanc, to my nose, is tuberose. You're getting hit at the start with just this wallop, this wave of this dense, kind of slightly sour. I've learned from Jura that tuberose absolute, which is the material used in this, it's on Pasha's website. I'm not getting this out of thin air. I'm not trying to pretend like I know the materials here. He said that it goes a little mushroomy, and I do, upon a second inspection, get big mushroom on this. It also kind of has this yogurt-like sourness. Really kind of, it's a domineering tuberose, it's a little less sweet, but it is just as wild as something like Robert Piguet's Fracas. Both of these, this and Fracas, are just huge tuberoses. So Pasha at least is a huge tuberose in the open. You do get this powdery texture, this slightly kind of hay-like thing. It has this stringiness in it that I think is the vetiver, but I'm not 100% sure on it. But as Vetiver Blanc dries down, you get a completely different picture. This big, dense, challenging tuberose just quiets down. It just goes through this process of maturing, maybe even as a person. And what you're left with is a very powdery, subtle, quiet, white, floral, and like almost warm out, like it's just almost chypre like in texture. It's just super powdery and white. The moment that I smelled the dry down of Vetiver Blanc, what I thought was porcelain. It's just so dainty and fragile, almost like pale and sickly, but not in a like repulsive way. It's almost like Vetiver Blanc in the opening were a famous movie star in the 1940s. You know, she was all that. She starred in all the movies. She was a bombshell, you know. She was the femme fatale. A, you know, although femme fatale is more of a something in the 40s, it's you know, she's big. She's dominating, you know? All the men kind of go around her, you know? She's what got people into seats. And as the perfume kind of advances, the person, the Vetiver Blanc woman, ages. You know, it happens within the span of hours, you know, in our reality, but for me, it almost feels like she's living an entire lifetime while, you know, living on your wrist, you know, proverbially, you know, metaphorically living on your wrist. And she grows weaker and she becomes more frail until at the end, you're left with this mature, kind grandmother that doesn't have that much force or life left in her, you know? It's kind of sad to see in a way, but she really just becomes a gentle soul. The strength just kind of leaves her, you know, she needs help doing most things in life, but she gets help from those who are close to her and who she loves. And yet there's still this remnant, you know? This line of white florals that kind of reminds you of what once was on your hand. In terms of how I enjoy this perfume, the opening is something that I struggle with. I really do. You know, I tolerate it, and I respect it more than anything because it really is. While being a tuberose is unlike any I've smelled before, you know, chief among them being Fracas, well, it does have the dewy, kind of slightly animalic characteristic of tuberose. It just goes in places, you know, it's mushroomy, it's a little yogurty, it's kind of, it's quirky, you know, but it's just not something that I enjoy. Meanwhile, the dry down is just so pleasantly powdery. You do get more of that vetiver in the dry down. It's, you know, it kind of, you know, this powdery mist, you know, the it kind of turns into something that is like chilly. It feels like early morning breeze in springtime, you know? It's very, very beautiful. But also, it's very, very close to the skin. And also, like, not that intense in terms of its projection, you know? I wore it mostly on the back of my hand. So part of what could have, you know, diminished or, you know, took away from the Mohallat's strength was maybe some rubbing away of the oil that had been accidentally done while I was going about my day-to-day routine. But the dry down really is the not the best part for me in Vetiver Blanc. And I think that's where I'll stop the review. If you've worn, or at least tried Vetiver Blanc, do write me down in the comments how you feel about it, if you feel the same. Maybe you're more of a fan of the opening, you know? You don't really like the fragrance at all. That's also like a valid opinion. I do respect it if you're of that opinion. If you've enjoyed the video, I encourage you to leave a like. Subscribe if you haven't, of course. Uploads might be a little less frequent. I'll try to keep them about as frequent as they've been lately. But no promises because, you know, university student and all that, things are going to get slightly busier. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.